Hey, everybody. So before we dive in, I'm going to just kind of give it a second, wait for you guys to get in here with me. I have a lot of information to give you. I don't really know that I'm going to be able to get to all of it tonight, but we're going to give it a go. And you know, if you do live in the Northeast Tennessee, Southwest Virginia area, I'm going to ask that you bring pen and paper. You're going to want to be able to write down some of this. As always, I will provide links when I'm done to the information that I want you to have and to the places where I want you to be able to take action. So I'll give you guys a minute. I see everybody kind of piling in here at once, so I'll give you guys just a minute. I'm glad to see everybody is doing okay and joining in and staying on it. Congratulations on finding your voices and making yourselves heard. Right, we're going to do this. So I have had several conversations with folks from the area, and you know, let me say this. Hey, Tim. Hey, Cassandra. Hey, Terry. Hey, Betty. Let me say this. I understand that it's scary. You know, I definitely get it for those of you guys who are employed and who live there. The more that I dig, this thing just really does kind of keep expanding. And so what I want to do in this live, hey, Vivian, is I'm going to take you guys, I'm going to give you a little bit more information. I want to provide some more clarity after the last live that I did concerning Alan Levine and his last position at HMA, along with that, the DOJ finding and all of that stuff. So, hey, Athena, hi, Mark, hey, Shanta. I'm going to not say hi to everybody. Just know I'm saying hi already because I want to get to the meat and potatoes of all of this. And so let's do this. Okay. So in the live that I did day before yesterday, I shared with you all some history concerning Alan Levine and his last position at HMA. He held two positions at HMA. One was the Senior Vice President of Health Development Operations and Governmental Relations. The other position was he was actually the president of Group 3, or what they would call a Division 3 of HMA. So he was absolutely in a corporate position, in a corporate role with HMA. Why is that important to you? Well, so let me give you a little bit of information just to recap in case you guys haven't seen it. So we know that Alan Levine went to work for HMA in August of 2010. We know that he was interviewed by 60 Minutes in 2012. And during that interview, he said, absolutely not. HMA has done none of that. We haven't pressured people to do admissions when it's not necessary. We haven't fired doctors or employees for not adhering to this policy. We have not set goals that says, hey, we want a 20% increase in admissions. And he said that all of those allegations came from prior to him joining HMA. So here's this. So I shared with you all before that the Department of Justice, so at the time that the 60 Minutes interview came out, I'm not going to say hi to everybody, just know that I'm saying hi, okay? So at the time that 60 Minutes did this interview, the investigation was still ongoing. The Department of Justice just released their final report on September 25th of 2018, okay? So you just need to understand that, you know, up until when he came to Mountain States, this investigation was ongoing. So, you know, should someone have known that there was an investigation from his last company? Yes. Did they take him at face value when he said, hey, that stuff happened before I got there? It's possible, right? It's possible. But I just want you all to understand that the investigation was still ongoing. So here's what, when the Department of Justice chose to intervene, because at first they were not included in this. So when the Department of Justice intervened, they intervened in January of 2014. Why is that significant in my mind? Because Alan Levine left HMA December 2013 and came to you guys January 2014. So literally when the Department of Justice took over this investigation, he had dipped. He was done like right at the same time. And here's what they said when they intervened. And I'm going to read this to you just so that you get a little background. It says, to The lawsuit alleges that HMA's corporate officers, which obviously if you're an SVP, if you're a president, right, you're kind of in corporate. And it says at the direction of Newsom is the CEO, exerted significant pressure on doctors in the emergency department to admit patients who could have been placed in observation, treated as outpatients or discharged, and that this resulted in the submission of inflated or false claims to federal health care programs. One lawsuit also alleges that patients were improperly admitted for scheduled surgical procedures that should have been done on an outpatient basis. The complaints further allege that HMA paid kickbacks, either in the form of bonuses or awarded contracts to physicians groups staffing HMA emergency rooms to induce the physicians to admit patients unnecessarily. In addition, the lawsuit alleges that HMA paid kickbacks to other physician groups to induce referrals. So this is a big deal that was going on at the time. And as you all know, I'm not going to read everything that went along with it, but you all know that HMA ended up being willing to pay $260 million to resolve false billing and kickback allegations. And one of the HMA subsidiaries pled guilty. So Alan basically said, hey, I told the truth. I felt like these people in that interview, they needed someone to stick up for them, and that was my job. And so I represented them on 60 Minutes. I don't know what you're talking about. We know that it's not true because these things happened between 2008 and 2012, and Alan was there from 2010 to 2013, almost 14. So there's an overlap in the time that he was there. So, this is who you all have running Ballad Health. Okay. Why does that concern me? Well, prior to him coming to HMA, right, as a private hospital, he had government positions as the Secretary of Health and Hospitals in both Louisiana and in Florida, which, by the way, when he was in Louisiana, guess who he brought to work with him? Tony Keck. Who did he bring to Ballad to work with him? Tony Keck. When these guys were in government roles, they were applauded and awarded for cracking down on Medicaid fraud, people using exorbitant billing practices. So that's what he did from like 2003 when he was in the Jeb Bush administration in Florida, and then when he went on to Louisiana, that's what he did. He investigated people misusing the system, and then when he went to work at HMA before he came to Mount Safe Health Alliance, he was part of an organization that had a corporate, Keck, Tony Keck. I don't know what I said, but Tony Keck. But he was part of an organization that conducted those same things that he quote unquote cracked down on in his government positions. So he switches his positions, and in one place, what I can see is takes advantage of the system and exploits it. And in another place, then, kind of cracks down on it. So now I just wanted to clear that. I want to be careful because somebody retweeted my live from the last time today, and you all wrote that he was charged. I need you to understand that there have been no charges filed, and the reason is because part of this agreement for them to pay $260 million, part of the agreement was it was a 3-year non-prosecution agreement. So the reason that you don't see this happening is because this is a non-prosecution agreement. Now the CEO, there are still individual lawsuits happening against particular people, and the CEO is one of those, but that's not what we're talking about here. So be careful when we share information that we share it accurately, because there's enough of it that's valid that you don't have to juice it up and make it be more than what it is. Okay. So now I'm going to bring you guys up to speed, and I'm going to close these out as I give them to you because it's a lot and I have like a bunch of stuff. All right. So I'm going to move right on. So one of the things that we want to take a look at with with Ballad and where we are today. Ballad has what we call antitrust immunity because of the COPA that the state of Tennessee and the state of Virginia awarded them. Now, I had somebody ask me the other day, well, why aren't you talking about the state of Virginia? Because they allow this too, and so forth and so on. I want to give you a little bit of information concerning that, okay? So one of the things that was a little bit different is, here we go. So the state of Tennessee, this is their COPA. It's 119 pages worth of their commitments and restrictions that they wanted Ballad to adhere to and to commit to in order to get this COPA awarded to them and approved. in comparison, I'm going to read you a quote from Terry Kilgore. So, you've heard me talk about Rusty Crowe on this side of the house, on Tennessee side. I'm also going to talk about Ron Ramsey today. I'm also going to talk about Gary Hicks today, and why those two gentlemen are important. And in addition, on the Virginia side of the house, we're going to talk about Terry Kilgore and why he's important. So here's the deal. Terry Kilgore is the chairman of the Health Authority, the Southwest Virginia Health Authority. And you know that Rusty Crowe is the chair of the Health Committee on the Tennessee side. So here's what he said. I'm going to read this. So here's what Terry Kilgore said. Our board of directors and the staff immediately noted that the Tennessee COPA certification created a more restrictive and bureaucratic framework than the authority had recommended in November. Terry Kilgore is saying he's the chairman of the authority. He wrote on behalf of the authority in an October 16th letter to Alan Levine. And he says Tennessee's requirements encompassed 119 pages. That's this. Virginia's commitments were only, and this is his words, concisely contained in 19 pages. And this is the quote that he said. We recognize that ultimately this dramatic increase in oversight, perhaps because the two health systems are Tennessee-based entities, will produce ancillary oversight and monitoring benefits for the Commonwealth. However, the authority is deeply concerned about the impact of these requirements on both the ultimate success of the proposed merger and the implementation of the health system's investments in Southwest Virginia. The authority estimates Mountain States and Wellmont, formed under the umbrella of Ballad Health, will spend approximately $5 million a year in administrative costs in both states, given Tennessee's requirements. So in other words, Kilgore is saying, holy crap, Tennessee, your requirements are so restrictive. Yes, it might benefit us because you're getting so much more reporting, but we're worried about the effectiveness of the merger. So when you ask me why I'm not as detailed about Virginia, is because Virginia wasn't requiring as much as Tennessee. So it's important for us to know that the things that were being pushed through on the Virginia side weren't as restricted. There weren't as many hoops involved as there was on the Tennessee side of things. Was there a cooperative agreement? Absolutely. Were there as many restrictions in that agreement? No, there weren't. Now, do y'all remember me talking to you about Rusty Crowe and him pushing through this piece of legislation called SB 2014, literally within a couple of weeks after the COPA was issued? I need you all to understand, the COPA was approved in September of 2017. It was issued January of 2018. February of 2018, Ballad Health took this bill to Rusty Crowe, per his office, that's what they told me, and asked him to sponsor it. This bill, what happened with this bill is this bill allowed them to keep certain information private that would have been public to you. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. In anything that the state pulls, so Larry Fitzgerald is the COPA monitoring person that was hired by the state of Tennessee. So let's just say that he did a report or he asked for some of the reports from Ballad. Well, anything that they acquired during the enforcement and monitoring of that COPA was supposed to be public, was supposed to be open to the public for you all to see. Transparency was super important, okay? Well, here's the deal. Under this legislation, SB 2048, they said, no. There's some information that we want to keep private. And they said that they wanted to keep it private for competitive purposes. Now, why do I call bullshit on competitive purposes? Well, I call it because if you look at the map that they put out, I'm going to post this up on my page as well. But here's what I want you to know, guys. In 2/3 of your region, between Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia, 2/3 of this region, Ballad has between 75% and greater than 90% like total monopoly of your inpatient care. Did y'all hear me? And it gets closer to around 70% is 50% monopoly or greater. I'm going to show you this map. It will blow your absolute mind. But literally 50 to 75% and 75 to 90. So like, the majority of your region, there is no competition. So the idea that SB 2048 was necessary is not accurate at all. And I want to show you what it costs you, because this was a document that was public prior to all of this happening. It's called, let me just tell you, it's an expert report that was done, proposed merger between Mountain States Health Alliance and Wellmont System, expert report of Robert Town, PhD. It was done August 29th, 2017, and it was submitted to the Attorney General for the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now, here's the deal. This document, look at the very top. Do y'all see what it says? It says redacted for public disclosure. Do you see that? So here's what happened when it became redacted. This document would have been completely clean. Now look at it. Do you see the information that you don't have access to anymore? You can thank good old Rusty Crowe for that. How do you feel about that? What do you think? I have a problem with this. It was supposed to be transparent. That was the purpose of having a COPA. You know, the idea was that Ballad was supposed to show you guys that they had your best interest at heart, that they had entered into a cooperative agreement for public advantage. Well, if it's for your advantage, why are you hiding shit? And I know y'all be like, excuse the language, I curse, I'm sorry, I'm military, it's just what I do. Okay, so just rock with me, okay? But I need you guys to understand, this is what it costs you, all right? Now, you've heard Lisa Carter and Alan Levine talk about the American Association of Pediatrics and them saying the AAP says that it's in you guys' best interest to move these NICU babies all into one area and all of that. Here's the only question that you need to be asking Lisa Carter and Alan Levine. Has the American Academy of Pediatrics been a consult for Ballad Health in this region? Because you got to understand, this might be the norm, and these are guidelines, but that's why they're guidelines, folks. Guidelines don't work across the board in every scenario and every situation. So unless Ballad Health has paid and had the American Academy of Pediatrics come and actually consult about your region, your NICUs, your EMS system, your transport systems, unless they have done that, we don't really care what guidelines say. Because guidelines are different from place to place to place. So it's not accurate, and quite frankly, it's null and void. No one cares. No one cares. I know that it's a guideline, but you know what? I mean, we have guidelines about how to care for babies, but every baby is different. Right, correct, Rachel, which they did not. Absolutely correct. I want to make sure that I'm checking these things off for you. Hold on, guys, because I've already covered that. Okay, so I want to talk to you all about, the COPA and the FTC. I need you to understand that the FTC submitted public comments on your behalf. They sent people to testify in front of the state health and in front of the state health department on your behalf, like adamantly saying, do not let this merger happen. Do not let this merger happen. The FTC was serious. So I want to show you some information. All right. So listen, so what was supposed to happen when you apply for a COPA, okay? When you apply for a COPA, it is your responsibility, it is your burden of proof to be able to demonstrate to the FTC that this merger is the best option out there. In other words, it's the top of the line solution compared to anything else. So better than being acquired by anybody else, better than any other merger, better than any other deal that you could have done. It's your burden of proof to show that this is in the public's best interest. And what happened is they failed to do that. So I don't know if you all know this or not, but when Wellmont decided that they were going to have to either merge with someone or be acquired, okay, when Wellmont determined that, they received 8 offers outside of the one from Mountain Health. There were 8 other offers on the board. And what Ballad never did was lay out those 8 other options in comparison to this merger. That's what they did not do. Mountain States and Wellmont did not provide the FTC with documentation that proved this merger was better than any of those other 8 alternatives. Do y'all follow me? And so because of that, the FTC said, oh, no, we're not buying it. So listen, I'm going to give you just a little bit of information. Holy geez. I'm just going to read. This is from Alexis Gilman. She is the Assistant Director for the Mergers for Division at the Federal Trade Commission. This is from November 21st, 2016. They submitted things all the way up until July 2018. And you can find these documents online. I will put the links up for you so that you can research them yourself. But here's the deal. She says, good evening. I'm Alexis Gilman, the Assistant Director for the Mergers for Division at the Federal Trade Commission. These remarks reflect the views of FTC staff regarding the potential issuance of a Certificate of Public Advantage, or COPA, for the proposed merger of Mountain States and Wellmont. While these remarks do not necessarily represent the views of the Commission has authorized me to appear before you today. My remarks tonight highlight only a few key points from the written public statement submitted by FTC staff. I will give you the links to the staff. Joshua, I don't know. I haven't researched that far. I mean, literally, this is like day 4, folks. Day 4. So I will, but no. Okay, so listen. The FTC has extensive experience evaluating hospital mergers and assessing their likely impact on competition and consumers. FTC staff has spent more than a year investigating the proposed merger between Mountain States and Wellmont. That investigation has led to significant concerns about the negative effects that this merger of such vigorous, and close competitors is likely to have on hospital pricing, quality of care, and the availability of services. Y'all listening? Listen to what she's saying, guys. Listen to what she's saying. I want you guys to really listen, okay? Listen. That investigation has led to significant concerns about the negative effects that this merger of such vigorous and close competitors is likely to have on hospital pricing, quality care, and the availability of services. Together, the hospitals would have a dominant market share of inpatient services and a significant market share in several outpatient and physician specialty service lines in the 21 county area which they propose to serve. Now I'm going to stop right there, and I want to share with you what she's talking about. So remember, I told you that I was going to talk about Senator Ron Ramsey, and I was going to talk about Gary Hicks. So in order for this to happen, there had to be an amendment to the existing Tennessee law for COPA. So listen, they didn't even qualify for a regular COPA. So here's what happened. I'm going to show you this document right here. You see this document? This document was submitted. I don't know if you guys can see it. See right here where it says Crow and Ramsey? Y'all see that? Okay. So here's what happens. When you go to do a hospital merger, what they tell you is that you can only have, let's say there's 10 cardiovascular surgeons, or 10 cardiologists, or 10, neurologists. Let's say there's 10 neurologists or 10 cardiologists, someone in a specialty field. Before this merger, you can only have employed of them 35%, no more than 35% of the cardiologists in the service area can be employed by those two hospitals. Do y'all follow me? So listen, they filed for a physician waiver. Do y'all see this? This is called an employed physician waiver. And what they did was they said, hey, we want a waiver outside of this because I want you to just look. In cardiology for Holston Valley, 100% of the cardiologists were already employed. 100% of them in India Path were already employed. You're looking at, so listen, not only do they have a monopoly on inpatient care, they have a monopoly on the doctors and the specialty doctors. So let's just say you want to go for a second opinion, people, and you want to go to a different cardiologist. Well, the cardiologist that you're going to go to, unless you go outside of this service area, is going to be a Ballad employee. That should be concerning to you. I would want to get a second opinion from someone who's outside of the network. But they applied for this waiver, thanks to your politicians. Thanks to your politicians, they applied for this waiver. let me finish telling you this is what the FTC testified. So that's why when she says together, these hospitals would have a dominant market share of inpatient services and a significant market share in several outpatient and physician specialty service lines in the 21 county area that they propose to serve. When hospital mergers substantially reduce competition, prices for healthcare services increase significantly, and the incentive to maintain or improve the quality of care decreases. And they go on and on and on. Now listen, the part that I really want to get to is it is important to understand. This is what she's ending with. Okay, listen to me. All right. In short, even the revised commitments proposed by Mountain States and Wellmont still fail to provide sufficient detail to evaluate whether these benefits will be achieved. We appreciate the serious healthcare challenges faced by the local community, and we encourage ongoing regional and state level efforts to address these problems. The hospitals, however, have not sufficiently justified why this highly anti-competitive merger is necessary and the only way. She actually put this in italics. She said they haven't proved why it's necessary and the only way to achieve their claimed benefits. They have failed to show why they cannot pursue alternatives short of a merger to achieve many of their claimed healthcare benefits without the risk of harm to competition and the need for the department to impose and monitor burdensome and complex regulation. The Tennessee Hospital Cooperative Act requires the hospitals to show by clear and convincing evidence that the benefits of the merger outweigh the harm from the loss of competition. They have fallen far short of that standard. Additionally, it's important to understand that once a merger is consummated, whether under a COPA or otherwise, it is extremely difficult to unwind. The plan of separation submitted by hospitals does little to alleviate the significant challenges of unscrambling the egg following a hospital merger, particularly one of this size. Approving this COPA means risking that the merger will become permanent. Meanwhile, the constraints on the parties and the commitments they propose are apparently intended to end after 10 years. If that happens, the region will have a virtual hospital monopolist unconstrained by meaningful competition or state regulation. In other words, the parties' commitments appear to be temporary. Y'all, listen, this COPA is only for 10 years. The parties' commitments appear to be temporary, but the harm to Tennessee consumers could be permanent. Thus, we recommend that the Tennessee Department of Health deny the hospital's COPA application. So, folks, what I want you to do, you got to blow up your folks and ask them why. The FTC sent people to testify 3 times. They submitted public comments 3 times and said, why in the world would you do this? This is going to be a monopoly and it's going to hurt your people. And we are telling you, do not do this, do not do this, do not do this. Now, I'm going to share with you why I think, I don't need that one anymore, why I think we have a legal loophole. All right, are y'all ready? You ready for me to give you a little hope now? I'm going to give you a little hope. All right. Rusty Crowe, as we know, submitted legislation on the behalf of Ballad. Well, Rusty Crowe is a senator, correct? So he is part of the state, right? Y'all got me? Rusty Crowe is the state because he's a senator, okay? He submitted legislation on Ballad's behalf. Now, and so what we would want to do here is we would want to file complaints with the Department of Justice Antitrust Division. I'm going to tell you why in just a second, and the Antitrust Division of the FTC, and this is why. The state cannot properly regulate Ballad Health if the state is part of Ballad Health. Rusty Crowe represents a direct conflict of interest because he is both the state and he is Ballad at the same time. So because of that, I believe we have a legal precedent and a legal justification to make this state action immunity null and void and have it repealed. Okay, so follow my language again, okay? You cannot have a state monitoring of Ballad Health if a member of Ballad Health is also a member of the state. So this is why you want to contact the Antitrust Division of the Department of Justice and the Antitrust Division of the FTC. Am I making y'all happy now? Okay, now this is where I'm going to make you even happier. Earlier this year, the FTC decided that they were going to hold an exemptions and immunities roundtable. In other words, they wanted to find out, hey, we got to have some conversations. A lot of these hospitals are merging together. We need to start really looking out and finding out about exemptions and immunities and having really good conversations. So while they were doing this, apparently somebody brought up Ballad Health. And I'm going to tell you why I know that somebody brought up Ballad Health is because on August 10th, 2008, who is this? Let me give you his name. Jeffrey Brennan. Jeffrey Brennan belongs to a law firm, McDermott, Will, and Emery. They are the law firm for Ballad Health, okay? And he sent this email communication to the Honorable Makan, I hope I'm saying is not right. It's Makan Delrahim, Delrahim. Don't worry, I'm going to put all this up on my page for you. Both DOJ and FTC, and you're going to want the antitrust divisions. If you'll hold tight, I'm actually going to give you the phone numbers and the email addresses, okay? I got you covered, loves. All right, so here's the deal. He sent this as a response to them, and he said, listen, I'm submitting these comments as counsel for Ballad Health. And he was talking about, hey, I want to tell you all the reasons why our merger was passed and why our COPA is so great and all of that. I'm going to put the link up, Hunter. Give me a minute. I'm going to put links up. I'm going to give you emails. I'm going to give you phone numbers. I'm going to give you all of that. Give me just a second. So he basically submitted this to them, trying to explain why they were good to go. And why they should have state action immunity, which I just told you why I believe they don't, okay? So here is one of the things that was part of it. There's 4 bullet points, but I want y'all to focus on bullet point that I'm gonna give you right now. There's supposed to be an overseeing. The department must also evaluate the potential disadvantages attributed to a reduction in the competition following the merger. So follow me. The extent of any likely adverse impact on patients in the quality, availability, and price of healthcare services. I have already had you guys tell me that there's been increase in prices on certain services, but we all know that they are proposing a direct impact in the availability of services. So this is what you're gonna do. Y'all ready? Can I take a drink of water? Hold on, I'm gonna give it to you. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to contact the FTC Antitrust Violation Department. You're going to do that with an email at antitrust@ftc.gov. That's an email address. You can also call 888-647-3258. You can also call 202-307-2040. Then you're going to, now when you do that one, that's the FTC. Oh, wait a minute. I'm giving you 2 different things. Let me back up. 202-307-2040 and 888-647-3258. Those are the Department of Justice antitrust divisions. I want you to call all of them anyway, but I'm just telling you. And then 202-326-3300 is the FTC Antitrust Division, okay? Antitrust.complaints@usdoj.gov is for, I'm going to post all of it. I'm going to post all of it. So yeah, that's it. Now that I'm done giving you guys all of the information, I will post I will post the links. I will post the email addresses. I will post the phone numbers. Here is where you cannot get lazy. I'm your voice, but I don't live there. I do not live there, which means I cannot call the FTC and do all of this stuff on your behalf. Every single one of you guys that is listening to this live, you need to pick up your phone and send your emails. This is you. You got to fight for every ounce of this. I will post the pictures that show that 2/3 of your region is in a 75 to greater than 90% monopoly. Well, okay, so Michaela, what you want to tell them is that there's been an antitrust violation, that Ballad Health has in fact fell short of meeting their COPA requirements, and this is the big part. Here's what you want to tell them. You want to tell them that the state cannot enforce the COPA because a member of the state who is a senator works for Ballad Health, and it's a conflict of interest. Y'all got me? Listen, the state cannot, Ballad Health does not qualify for state action immunity because Rusty Crowe works for them and he represents the state as a senator and he has sponsored legislation on their behalf. So it immediately shows a bias by the state on their behalf. Senator Ron Ramsey and Gary Hicks have both passed an amendment. They changed the law. The state changed the law to allow this COPA to exist. So the state has demonstrated a bias. The members of the state have demonstrated a bias towards Ballad Health. So you can't enforce and regulate that in which you support and show bias to. Therefore, you don't qualify for state action immunity. So what you want is you want Ballad Health's immunity repealed. You want it taken back. And you want Alan Levine resigned or fired, along with Tony Keck. You want outside leadership to come into Ballad. You want, you're going to have to figure out some sort of dissolving. All of those types of things. Like this is going to be, listen, I don't want y'all to think that this is going to be easy because it's not. It's not going to be easy. Once this thing got approved, now you got to start to unwind all this stuff. Now, the good news is it's been less than a year. No, it's not. It's yes. Yeah. So this is the deal. So you're in for a haul, but this is what has to be done. I will post the verbiage, but because the state has bias and is part of Ballad Health through the connection of Rusty Crowe, we want their state antitrust immunity repealed. Okay. So here's the deal, guys. I know all about them wanting money up front. I hear the stories, and the stories are great because they add humanity, but the stories don't give us a legal avenue to help you. Do y'all understand? They can say, hey, you need to be able to pay for this up front because you don't go to the grocery store and get groceries unless you can pay for it. They can say that, and that's not really, they're not doing anything illegal. It might be shitty, but it's not illegal, right? So what we want to do is we want to use a legal avenue where you actually have a foot in the door to be able to say, this is why this does not work. This is why you legally do not have the ability to have immunity. Got it? Hunter, this is where you guys in the commission need to dig your heels in. You need to be getting your attorney on this because you have grounds here. And I will send you every bit of these links. I still have stuff everywhere. To the people who have helped me, to the people who have helped me dig and talk to me and all of those types of things, I'm forever grateful. It's been a full 4 days, but at the end of this, I think that we've done some good. I will tell you this, there's almost 1 million of you, 955,000. And if what we did allows 955,000 people to have access to healthcare and to not be railroaded by this organization, I'm all for this. It was a great use of my time. I'm still going to continue to dig for anything else legally that helps give us a foothold. But I wanted you all to have this information, and I didn't want to wait until tonight. Okay. So phone calls tomorrow, emails tomorrow. As soon as I get off here, I'm going to put all of this information at the top of this live for you. Okay. So I want you guys to do it. Don't stop until your voices are heard. Gary Hicks' office needs to be held accountable. Ron Ramsey office need to be held accountable. Terry Kilgore, Rusty Crowe, every single one of them need to be accountable. Your health and well-being depends on this. And then there's got to be conversations. Let me tell you guys this. I love you too, Brenda. There's got to be conversations on how to revitalize your area. There's got to be conversations. You know, they keep putting up things like the Pinnacle and shopping malls and things like that. We want someone to, we want like, you know, do y'all remember when like Raytheon was there, you know, and then it was Ball Corporation and all of that. And now Bristol Compressors is going, you know, King Pharmaceuticals at one time was really alive and thriving. There's got to be some ways that your government officials there can start to make it attractive again. I know the casino's coming, but we need more than that, okay? So this is step one. You guys are very, very welcome. That's really all I got. So I appreciate you all for tuning in. I will put all of the links and information up here. I think we found something. I really do. I think we found something. So, and you know, I don't know if I end up dead, y'all know who did it. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. I end every live the same way, right? Be amazing. Be light. Oh, let me say this before I end. Let me say this. I love the fact that I had great conversations with people today. Great conversation with people today. No matter if we agreed on politics, if we didn't agree, we came together on this one issue and we fought for you guys. And we're going to continue to do that until we get resolution. So I appreciate you all very, very much. I'm coming home soon too. So I'll see some of you guys. Be amazing, be light, be love. I'm out of here. Bye.